This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not provided as financial, legal, or any other advice. The information is not investment advice or an offer to buy or sell any securities or make any investment. The views expressed by guest speakers are their own, and any reference to third-party products, services, or information does not constitute an endorsement thereof by SNN or its affiliates. SNN expressly disclaims all liability for any individual's use of the information presented in this podcast. My guest on the show today is Eddie Ryan, co-founder and CEO of Kneat.com Inc. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you, KSI on the TSX and KSIOF on the OTCQX. Kneat Solutions provides companies in highly regulated industries with validation and compliance through its digital validation platform, Kneat Gx. Kneat Gx is a digital validation platform that enables highly regulated companies to manage any validation discipline from end to end. I invited on Eddie to learn more about the history of Kneat, plus how and why they developed their validation platform, Kneat Gx, problems that Kneat Gx is solving specifically for the life sciences industry, what validation means, and why highly regulated industries need to have high quality solutions to meet their validation requirements, what the competitive landscape looks like, their progress towards profitability and balancing growth versus focus on profitability, and their 3 to 5 year vision for the company. With that, please enjoy my conversation with Eddie Ryan, co-founder and CEO of Kneat.com Inc. Eddie, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
Hi, Robert. Great to meet you.
Absolutely. It's great to see you as well and meet you like this. I mean, the reason well, look, I've been familiar with the Kneat story, for quite a few years now, but actually I finally had the chance to see you even present in person, actually at Ian Castle's MicroCap Club Leadership Summit. I think that was last year in 2023. So, it's, I'm just thank you for taking the time here to, share a little bit more about Kneat.com and whatnot. So
my pleasure, Robert.
My first question for you on here that I ask everyone this as the first question. What would you say is that one line that best describes Kneat.com?
That's a great question, Robert. So Kneat enables highly regulated customers or, regulated industry to streamline and automate their validation processes. And these are highly regulated processes that are overseen by bodies such as the FDA, and it's very important. There's a lot of documentation data involved, and Kneat automates and streamlines and digitizes all of that end to end. That's our big value proposition, enabling these companies to reach a higher compliance standard, be audit ready in real time, save 50% of their costs associated with data and documentation management in this area, and get their products to market faster.
Absolutely. All right. That's a great way to start us off. So let's get that history. When was you, as a co-founder of the company, when was the company originally founded? And what would you say was the original thesis for its founding? Has it changed over the years?
No, the vision for the company is still the same, Robert, over the years. And so I'm originally a mechanical engineer, and I went into sales very early in my career, and I worked for a US-based company selling into the pharmaceutical industry. I fell in love with the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, and I joined it to become an engineer within it. And in there, I met my co-founder, Kevin Fitzgerald, and we saw the need to digitize all these areas, these high regulated areas around the validation space, which is a mission critical process for these companies. And we felt, if we can digitize all this, we weren't able to find a solution when we worked in pharmaceutical manufacturing. So we said, we can solve this problem. That's the genesis of the company. We like-minded people. We felt we could do a lot more for the industry if we could solve this problem. So I guess we started, in earnest coding. We looked at the needs of the industry in quite a lot of detail. And then we looked at how we were going to get to our vision. And I guess the important thing was that we knew, like a lot of companies prior to this and around this time, they were bringing hybrid type, generic software type solutions into the marketplace to try and solve the problem. None of this worked. And, we saw that firsthand ourselves. So we had to develop a product designed for purpose for this industry. And when I say that, it's got to take into account the regulations that govern the industry, and the way different parts of a company would want to do things differently. So based on that, we developed a platform. And I think we were probably 8 to 9 years getting our early first customer. There's a lot of R&D went into this by a small team initially. And then we got our first customers, and we probably around 2014, 2015. And then from there, it took off. The customers realized that we were the only solution that delivered on the business value in this area. And it took off from there. And today now we can count 8 of the top 10 biggest pharmaceutical manufacturers in the world as our customers. So that's, I guess, how we got here, in a nutshell.
So you actually answered a little bit of part of my next question here, but I want to kind of dig into the idea of validation specifically, because some people are familiar with it, some people are not. It might seem obvious, but also at the same time, you're like, okay, well, what exactly does that mean from a software perspective and also from a business processes perspective? So can you, you just kind of alluded to who really needs Kneat, which is the pharmaceutical industry. You like you said, you have 8 out of the 10 largest pharmaceutical companies using your validation software. But what is it about your software that they need, that they really need? Like why do they need to validate? What are they validating? What are these things?
So I guess validation is a subset of quality in the industry. And quality is a large area here in the pharmaceutical manufacturing, as you can imagine, making sure that products are manufactured to the highest standard. And so the regulations require that you validate everything that you use in the manufacture of a pharmaceutical product or a medical device or anything in that supply chain. So like everything must go through a series of design and testing to make sure it will consistently manufacture a product to the highest standard and will not adversely affect patient safety. So these are the high-level good manufacturing practice requirements that you must adhere to. So every piece of equipment, every computer system, every process, every product must be validated. And this is a series of rigorous testing, and you must document all that to be able to demonstrate to the auditors later that you did do all this testing and that the systems are suitable for purpose. So there's a lot of validation, and validation processes or use case range from computer system validation, equipment validation, cleaning validation, logistics validation. There's a huge amount of use cases within that validation space. So ultimately, the owner of this problem within the pharmaceutical manufacturing business is the VP of quality. That's the person who's ultimately signing off to purchase a system like this. And the value for him is, or her is, that they can be assured that people are doing the validation process across the world. All their engineers and scientists are actually doing the validation in real time in compliance with the regulations. So you're really de-risking their business. I mean, you're saving all the money as well, but the ultimate value proposition is you're de-risking the business so that when the FDA arrive in your site in the future, that you can show that you've documented everything and everything is kosher.
So, I mean, at what point in these pharmaceutical companies' life cycle do they ultimately then come to you? I mean, I guess this is kind of a question of also the sales process from your end, as well as making sure that they're aware of you for when the time comes, and then then they are ready to actually sign up with you guys.
Yeah. So prior to Kneat, Robert, they're primarily doing it on paper stroke hybrid doc management systems. So they use a doc management system and they store the files in that. But they have to print those files out to go and capture the test data in the field or, in the lab or whatever the case may be. And so they're, they all know, we knew, and they all know that managing stuff on paper is very, very cumbersome. And, there's no audit trail. It's very difficult to manage it. And they struggle to manage their processes on paper and doc management systems. So I guess every company is on a digitization journey. They know by digitizing, they will have efficiencies and be more, improve their operations. So they're all on that journey looking for a solution, or, when we come to them, they maybe have tried a solution before, or they may be, starting out on that journey. And usually it takes, a number of demos to get them convinced that Kneat is the right solution for them. And then it gets into their budgeting process, and it can be anywhere from 6 months to 1 year, depending on, when you meet the customer in their journey.
So I want to talking specifically to Kneat's software and your SaaS solutions here for specifically pharmaceutical. I'm assuming there's probably other verticals that you can go after. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But what makes your software unique and different? And just I guess also is, what moat is there compared to some of your competitors out there that is stopping them from just maybe being a better coder and making something that's more encrypted or something like that, that makes you guys unique and different and ultimately better than your competitors out there?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what our customers love about us. They love the fact that they can take their process and reconfigure it on our platform. So when we're selling our platform, my first customer said to me, Eddie, are you just going to give us, the Pfizer way to do validation? I said, no, just you give me your process and I will digitize your process on the platform. And there's no coding involved here at all. So basically, a lot of products out there are, the customer needs to change their validation methodology or process in order to be able to digitize it on the vendor's platform. Whereas on Kneat's platform, it's your way. You get your process in the Kneat platform, and it looks and feels the very same way as it always did. Whereas on other tools, it's actually you have to squeeze it into the way they do things. Okay, so that's number one. And number two, from our perspective, is the data integrity that's running through our platform. So we've doubled down on data integrity over and over and over again, and I think we're selling quality. We're not. Our customers are buying quality, so we have to work really hard at making sure that they can stand over what they see in our system. So if the FDA comes in and audits you, one of the things they're really concerned about is the data integrity. Can they trust the data they're seeing? Is the data available? Is it complete? And can they trust it? And Kneat stands over that as being a real pillar of its differentiation. And the reason that's so is because we designed Kneat from the ground up with understanding intimately the regulations and the data integrity needs of the industry. So that's another second thing. I mean, there's also another point which our customers continuously tell us. Kneat is easy to use. We love using Kneat. It's easy to use and it's easy and quick to deploy because there's no coding. We develop a platform and there's no coding whatsoever. We don't develop for an individual customer. It's a SaaS platform and they just configure or set their process up on the Kneat system and they set it up the way they already do it. There's very little change, very little cultural or change control required in their business to shift over to a digital validation process.
So I have to also ask, I mean, and I don't know if anybody's ever asked this to you before, but I mean, did you ever go to the FDA or any of these other agencies that approve drugs? And blanking, of course, on the European equivalent. I can't believe I am right now, but there you go. Did you ever go to these agencies and say, hey, this is actually our validation platform. Can you give us any feedback, what we can do better? Because we want to help these companies so that they're streamlined, so that when they get to you, they're ready to go. All their paperwork's in order. Everything's validated, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's a great question, Robert. And I would say that, the big thing here is that the agencies will not endorse products. I mean, they don't mind whose system you use or if you do it on paper, as long as you do it right and as long as you can stand over it. And they don't mind if you're efficient or inefficient, as long as you have that documentation, those records that they need to see when they come to audit your facility or when they're approving that product for the marketplace. Okay, so they don't really endorse products. That's not their business. But, we have heard of the positivity that they pass on when they see documentation delivered in the Kneat system. So in the past, when an audit happened, and an auditor asked for a specific record, that record, the customer may have to go to their vaults to find that record, or they may have to go to Iron Mountain where they're storing those original records. With Kneat, it's a press of a button, and you pull back all those records instantly. And also, Kneat has a way of, preparing audit information for the auditor in a specific area where the auditor can go and view all that documentation in a dedicated manner, right? Without ever going to paper or ever going to PDF or anything like that. And so we only hear secondhand, Robert, about how our technology is received by the auditor, and it's been very positive from all customers. And just to say, the regulations are sort of pushed down by the customer. So the customer, it's incumbent on them to audit us before they can purchase our software. So they spend a lot of time due diligence on us. They will spend a number of days coming to our facility, looking at how we design, test, develop, release, support software in the marketplace. And they're quite onerous audits. And if you don't come out through those audits in flying colors, they're not going to adopt your product. That's a really big thing. So you're audited indirectly, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure you'd be like, oh, this would be awesome if we just could put right on the website, just like official FDA approved validation system. Like, I mean, that would always be nice, right? So going back to the competitive landscape, I'm curious, what does that look like? Who are Kneat's main competitors? Who are you always going up against for some of these contracts?
Yeah, so I would say that there's many, many different types of competition. The primary, if you look at this, it's like a new category. It was done through doc management systems with the support of paper in the past. They were what we call hybrid systems, and they're just not suitable for purpose into the future. And everyone knows that they're manual and they're susceptible to error and non-compliance and all of that. So that's primarily the solution we were displacing in the early days. There has been a few companies around in advance of us, but what we've proven is that we were delivering the business value, the promised business value over the other products in the marketplace. And as we become successful, there's other companies following us into the marketplace, and they're approaching it from different perspectives. Today I would say that they're early to market, a lot of these products, and Kneat is a mature, tried and tested, scaled product globally. So if you look at our customers, some of our customers have 10,000 users in the system, scaled across 30 sites worldwide, being used in Asia in their manufacturing facilities, being used in the US across multiple sites, being used in Europe across multiple sites. So we're tried and tested, and it's great developing software, but developing software that's performant at scale is something that we're really proud of. When you go to 10,000 users, is it going to be there for you every day? Is it going to stay up? And I must touch wood that we've been very positive and very successful in that area, along with all those other things we talked about earlier, data integrity and all that sort of stuff. So we would say that there's and when we talk to our customers, we say to our customers, the validation is a big space, and we say we're your one platform for all your validation use cases, all your validation needs. Unlike competitors which are approaching certain parts of the overall market, the addressable market, validation has multiple areas, and they're strong in certain areas or potentially strong in certain areas and entering through certain areas, but they're not like Kneat that's strong for all your validation needs.
From a revenue focused perspective, who would you say is that target customer within the pharmaceutical healthcare space? I mean, obviously it's a big TAM, right? I mean, validation for life sciences. I have some notes here that it's like around 2 billion. What is your main target customer? Is it that large multinational, or are you also, I mean, you clearly have the solutions, but is it worth your time going after some of these smaller, clinical stage type companies?
Yeah. Well, the most important for us, the most lucrative, obviously, is the global brands, the big pharmaceutical manufacturers. I mean, that's our core business, Robert. Pharmaceutical manufacturing, and we also have medical device manufacturers. I would say that we're not as big in that area yet. We would see ourselves doing more in the medical device space over time. We also have consumer product goods companies that are big companies, and they have validation needs as well. They're similar. They're governed by the FDA and the like as well to some extent. So when you look at the overall space, when I look at the life sciences space, I address it as core is biopharma manufacturers, medical device manufacturers, then the supply chain into these companies, and also on the supply chain out, also the logistics providers who are getting product to point of sale. We have big customers on either side of the manufacturing space, and logistics providers. We have one of the top 5 logistics providers in the world that's using Kneat for validation. We have engineering companies that are supplying services and to the pharmaceutical manufacturers. We have vendor manufacturers that are supplying equipment to the space, IT suppliers as well. So there's a whole plethora of different size segments. And for us, we address, we address the large customers, as I said, the enterprise, and then with the smaller customers, we work with our partners to address the smaller customers as much as possible.
Who's the elephant that you were to look at as Kneat and say, oh, all right, yeah, that's who maybe we want to be one day, but who is that elephant in the validation space right now for life sciences?
So a company that we want to acquire as a customer, is that what you mean?
No, like you're like a competitor that's the elephant in the room. Yeah. Like the biggest one, that kind of you're either up against and maybe lose business to or win business from, but like it's, already much bigger.
So generally the people that in the industry who understand the products and the capabilities of all the products adequately, generally select Kneat as the product to digitize their validation processes. Kneat today is the global leader in the validation space. And right now we are on a journey to consolidate our leadership in that space. So in the validation space, there is no competitor with a product that's better than ours at this point in time, delivering the business value. Of course, as I said, there's companies trying to get in there and they're early days and they're, on the early stage of their journey in the validation space. But if you look at software companies, at large, there's software companies in our space. In the addressing life sciences, companies like Veeva, who are also looking to address validation over time. They're big companies, and we believe that, we can be a Veeva someday. We have a lot of work to do, but we have a huge vision for our technology, and we believe that, our technology is the best and will continue to be the best.
Very good. All right. So one last question regarding the technology itself. There's clearly a market need in the life sciences space for validation technology. And that seems to be where that's your main focus right now. I mean, are there any other verticals out there that you've been looking at, exploring that, might be interesting as you move forward here? Yeah.
So today we have a lot to do, Robert, in the space we're in the validation space and within life sciences. And when we look outside that area at the adjacent areas, just outside of validation, maybe deeper into quality, deeper into manufacturing, deeper into knowledge management, these areas within our customers, we see huge opportunity there as well. And, in fact, our customers are asking us to go to certain areas and we're saying, great, let's hear what it is. Let's understand what it is. Let's make sure it's on our roadmap that we can cater for it when the time is right. But we want to reassure you that we want to give you the best solution, the best validation solution for all your validation processes today. And that's our focus. So when we see, when we go to adjacencies, we see our TAM, going from 2 billion to 7 billion. And if we look outside that to other verticals, such as, I would say, you can talk about aviation, you can talk about other types of highly regulated industries. I would say it's any industry that values good documentation, good data practices with good, audit trail and data integrity in their processes. They're also customers that we can approach. But right now, I would say, Robert, that life sciences is the main play for us over the short, medium term, right? Before we'd be looking outside of that. There's a lot to be done there.
Very good. So one last question regarding the technology and the software and the services that you provide. Right now, especially in the software space, everyone is curious if there is some sort of AI potential or AI component, not trying to turn Kneat.com into an AI play by any means with this question when I ask this, but is there any sort of integration of AI technology in order to reduce costs from your end or things that you're exploring?
Yeah. So one thing I would be very, very clear about, anywhere the customer can get more value and good value and, sort of right value, compliant value, we'll be all over it, right? To integrate it with our technology. So one thing that we're really clear on is data centricity and making data really powerful, making the data available to AI tools that are available. And we will be having, I would say, early exploration of these with certain partners in that. And but I would say that we use AI ourselves internally for productivity purposes, of course. And but we do have opportunities also where we're integrating with our customers' AI, internal AI models, so that they can get more value from the data that's created in Kneat, quicker reporting and the like. So there's a lot of stuff working there. I would say that it's evolving today, Robert, regarding the use cases.
Very good. All right. So you know what? I think we covered quite a bit about software. I'm sure there's more that we could do, but I'm sure that would probably take another few hours. But I want to get to some questions from corporate side, that kind of stuff, some other investor type questions that I'm sure you'd love to hear. So anyways, one question that I love asking everybody on here as well is, and this is very appropriate because I actually saw you present in person very recently. Even after that presentation that, let's say, that you just did, in Chicago, about a year ago now, even after seeing all that, hearing the questions, everything like that, what do investors maybe still get confused about when trying to put their theses together regarding Kneat.com? And maybe we can answer some of those frequently asked questions here.
Yeah. That's a good question, and I'm dwelling on that question right now. But I would say that definitely our story is becoming, for the people that put a little bit of effort into it, are becoming much clearer. I suppose really, I as a public company, I have the benefit of presenting to lots of investors, and revisiting those same investors the following year or 6 months later, and I find that they really are getting the story in a very strong way. And they're beginning to understand the opportunity in more detail. And, the beauty is that Kneat's able to give general guidelines. We don't do guidance as such, just general, information. And we're able to, come back again a year later and say that we've delivered on that, which is a really positive thing. So, like the first question you asked here today was a good one, Robert. What's validation, right? So, that's something that the customer or the investor who wants to get really deep on something, they need to understand what the problem is here, right? And I think the problem, once they get it, that it's sometimes they wonder, how strong is this? Sometimes they think, well, can any software company come in here and do this? Why is an early stage company like Kneat going to succeed and in the long term? And I guess what I try to really get across here is Kneat's a platform. The customer can have their process in the platform. That's the first thing. I said that earlier. Secondly is the capability for data integrity and the capability for compliance. What I'm talking about, today, when you sign for something, you do a procedure in paper prior to Kneat. You go out in the field and you follow a procedure step, and it says do something and record something, and then you do that and you record what result you get, and then you pass and fail and you sign it with your signature. This signature is your binding signature, right? I mean, that signature in the Kneat system is locked to that data forevermore. And anyone tries to change that data anywhere, there's an audit trail on that and all of that. And so Kneat is like, if you're looking at data, we're just worried about the data more than anything else. Documents and forms and, whatever way you present that data, that's okay, great. Different formats of seeing the data. But we're managing the data centering the database. And there's an audit trail on changes to that data. And if you're in one document or in a form and you see a piece of data, you can tell if that data is approved in another place or not. You can use it and say it's approved already, so it's approved data. Or you can populate data and go and send it for review and approval through a document or through data itself. And you get that approved. Once it's approved, it's subject to change control thereafter. And there has to be an audit trail on everything that goes on. So I can look at the database. I can go into an audit trail, which is an independent audit trail that can't be tampered with. That's an FDA regulation. I can go into an audit trail and I can see what Robert Kraft did, 6 months ago at 2 a.m. If he changed approved data, what did he do with it? All that stuff, right? So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about here. We're not talking about generic software. We're talking about audit trails. We're talking about, coagulating the data, making sure it can be seen from one place, even though it appears in multiple places, and it can't be changed and be different in different places. One source of truth. Now, these are big things. And, generic software can't do that. You have to build it from the ground up. And, there's been many examples of companies trying to get software, push it into a regulated space, and they got to do a lot of different things. And it's difficult, very difficult. So
I want to hit on that point because I would assume that most people probably hearing this right now is like, well, what's stopping a DocuSign or Amazon Web Services, any of those companies that have, much bigger brand names that have a market in, I guess I don't want to say smart contracts, but like, digital signage, all that kind of stuff. What's stopping them from getting in there? But I think it sounds like you more or less answered that question, right? They would have to do a lot of customization and whatnot, but they also have, but at the same time, is that a concern that you've addressed a few times? I'm sure it's all, no?
It's not a concern I have, Robert. If I'm here, I concern myself about my business. I concern myself about my business, the future of my business, right? And,
of course, no.
And delivering the value to the investors and the customer, right? And making sure that we deliver our vision, because I believe our vision is going to deliver for our investors and deliver for our customers, right? That's the reality, and we all believe that internally in Kneat, and we're passionate about that. And the data integrity aspect of this is huge, right? Like DocuSign and the like, they're great for what they do, but they're not big data type environments that can challenge data across multiple data. I'm talking about data in a document, in a row on a table in a document. Kneat can track that. Kneat can track changes to that. DocuSign doesn't do that. They're just about signatures, really. And I'm not knocking them. Their opportunity is different, right? And their space is different. They're a contract orientated product. You do get them pushed in some places because they can do electronic signature. But Kneat does data integrity. So when you look at Kneat, the FDA, the guidance in the industry, Kneat is a platform that's they call it electronic records, electronic signatures platform. If you want to use an IT system for supporting FDA regulations, good manufacturing practice, right? You must comply with regulation FDA 21 CFR Part 11. That's an onerous regulation, right? And it goes into a lot of detail around electronics records, digital signatures, approval of data, changes to approved data, all that stuff. It's quite complex, Robert. And that's why, we've been so successful, because we deliver that complexity and we narrow it down to a simple, easy to use platform that the customers can use. And that's really what we've achieved here.
Very good. All right. So another, devil's advocate-y type question that I ask everybody on here as well. Other than execution risk, which is across the board, that's everybody's number one risk or downside risk that you want to keep in mind with any potential investment. But in your opinion, what would you say are some of Kneat.com's downside risks, whether they be, potential headwinds or things within the industry or competition coming up? What are some of the things that keep you up at night?
Yeah, luckily I'm a great sleeper, but that doesn't mean there isn't challenges. So, Robert, like a great business has challenges every day, right? And there's always a challenge. And the day you assume anything, is the day you're losing, right? So I'm a bit like one of the football player who worries about the games he's losing as opposed to the games he's winning. He celebrates the games he's winning, but not for long. He's back to the games he's losing. So I think it's incumbent on me as a leader for the company to make sure that we position ourselves properly in the marketplace. We deliver the value to the customers. We deliver on our vision, and so I would say, from my perspective, two things. I'm always first thing in the morning, I'm talking to the product people and I'm talking to the salespeople. That's, making and selling. That's what focuses my mind. And we always have challenges around, competition, what they're doing, but we don't take it too much to heart. We know we have a great vision and we have to continuously play our game. And we're happy if we do that we'll deliver,
Very cool. All right. So want to get into the numbers a little bit. The company, you last reported, I think that was back in August. Company's not profitable, but you're showing that net loss is going down quarter over quarter. So in your estimates, obviously from what you can tell us, how soon do you think Kneat.com will get to that break-even point?
Yeah, so as I say, as a company, we don't forecast. We don't give guidance to the street at this point in time. What I would say is that, we started out 2024 and, our guidance, well, not as in guidance, but, we did say to people that, this is a year for growing into our resources. We had hired a lot of people prior to that and growing into our bandwidth. And I think we've kind of done that, and, so for this year, and will continue this year, that expenses relative to revenues are going to be flat-ish. We are putting in, strategic hires. So, if you look at all of that and you play that out to the end of the year, and you look at, how our growth is, and we believe we can deliver on our growth within that bandwidth of resources we have. So if you look at that, you can see that, it's not too far away. The visibility is there on profitability. So that's clear from how we look right now.
So I mean, from your perspective, how are you trying to balance the idea of growth, getting bigger, bringing in more cash, also with your focus on profitability too? Because folks are going to, listen and they want to hear.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough line to walk, Robert. And I say, it's important to, be prudent about what we do and invest where there's ROI and invest wisely. And, we constantly evaluate what we can and can't do and what we should do. And as I said, we were really growing into our team size that we have. We brought a lot of people on, and I think it was good for the company to stabilize and not push on again, right? To use what we had and, take advantage of that. So that may change. We don't have a final definitive view on that at this point in time. But what I would say is that we are confident that we can deliver the growth that we expect with the current resources. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't going to be some, let's call it strategic hires in the likes of, sales and marketing and development. There will always be strategic spending going on there. But by and large, I guess that's how we see it. So being able to deliver growth, the expected growth that we're comfortable with the in the current budget.
Absolutely, and not to kind of, I guess I'm trying to word this properly, but like do a potential save in a sense for what you're saying is that it's really kind of interesting that it's from what I gather from earlier in our conversation. Why did the industry take so long to start using more digital services for their validation processes? That's what it really seems like is, because anybody might be looking at it like, oh, well, why haven't they been doing this for years? It's like, well, it seems like it's still very nascent within the pharmaceutical industry that they've started to digitize these processes, which, for you guys as being, early stage growth company, it's like, all right, yeah, we are operating at a loss because, these numbskulls are just getting on board here, I mean, it seems like that's kind of the story in a sense.
Well,
if we were to paint it with a rosy picture, of course.
Yeah. Traditionally, the industry is very conservative. It's like there's patients' lives at risk here, right? So quality and all that, they got to be assured of quality. They got to be ensured that they're compliant with the regulations. They got to, de-risk their business. And I believe strongly that a solution wasn't on the marketplace available to do what we do until we came along, right? We delivered the business value. I mean, other solutions were there. They were tried, but they never took off. They never got big traction because there were software systems that kind of brought in from other places, so they'll fit in here. There's been certain success in certain areas for sure. But my view is that the right solution wasn't on the marketplace. And they're very much a follow me industry, So one big pharma company adopts a product that's helping them to be compliant. They share that information. They don't compete on tools for being compliant, right? And they tend to follow me from that perspective. One company proves it out, then the other companies, get confidence on that and they move on with it. So that's how they work. So they're a very conservative industry and everything was done on paper. Paper was great. Paper works. It works if you do it right. We put lots of resources at it, put a lot of time at it. It will get you by, and it has got them by for a long time. But it's cumbersome. It's susceptible to error. There's lots of downsides to it. And Kneat has come along that addresses that solution, addresses the problem adequately. That's my view of it.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I think probably most folks who are probably either in the story or aware of the story are probably hitting it on like this is the real that's the main crux of everything right here. So one question on capital allocation, how does M&A figure into your longer term vision for the company?
Yeah, I suppose one of the key things is we've developed a platform, and that platform is an end-to-end system. And it's a workflow around data, documents, forms, etc., whatever we want to dress it up. we don't see in the short term, as we stay focused on our $2 billion TAM, our validation space, being great at that into the future, making sure that we continue to be the leaders there. So that's we don't see as we go outside of that, I guess we could maybe see opportunities for acquiring solutions, But right now, it wouldn't be on our short-term horizon, Robert, just to be really clear about that. It doesn't mean we're not always scanning the marketplace and looking for opportunity. But for me, I think it's not in the short term, but as we move into adjacencies, there is opportunity, I think.
Very good. All right. Well, Eddie, you've answered all my questions. I got one final one for you, and hopefully it's your favorite one. Who knows? It's some people's favorite one because it gets everybody excited. But, in your opinion, and again, from what you can tell us, where do you want to see this company in 3 to 5 years? And what would you say in your best guesstimates would be the inflection points that will actually get you to that vision?
Okay, well, we've developed a great technology, right? And, the world is only beginning to consume it. And the vision for it is like quantum developments on where it is today. And we're on that road. And everything we develop today is for the future. So what I mean by that is we're working closely with our customers today, and we're solving their problems today. But, we're also saying, this is about a platform for smart data management, smart documents, smart forms, smart workflows. That's what that is for the future. So, I believe Kneat can continue to be this system that customers, especially in a regulated environment, can model their processes. That doesn't have to be validation. It can be outside of validation, many, many adjacencies, like I spoke to you earlier on. So the technology we created believes to be a great big company. That's my first view. And, we developed this product. We own this product. We're not leveraging another IT system. This is our IT system. We developed from the ground up. That's why it took so long to develop. And we've developed this great platform. So my view is it deserves to be a great big company into the future, right? And inflections for that are just making sure that we address those adjacencies in due course. Remember, as I said, as we go today, we are looking at the future. We're building for the future, but we're solving the problems for our customers today. But that's the key thing for us. And being given value to our customers, understanding, our positioning in the marketplace, our strength and all of that, and, applying that to our go-to-market strategies and all of that is very important. But, what's very important also is to play our game and play it to the best of our ability. And I think, it's delivered for us today, and it will deliver into the future, albeit there's other challenges as you grow.
Very good. All right. Well, Eddie, we're there. Thank you again for answering all my questions. Where can our audience go and find more information to follow along the Kneat story?
I think you can go to www.kneat.com for a website, and there's an investor section there that you can drill in about Kneat, and you get into an investor section there. They can get in touch with Katie, who's head of our investor relations, and Katie can put them on our emailing list, or there's a way through the website to get on our emailing list, and you get all the news straight when it's hot off the press from that. And if Katie will also definitely take calls from anyone.
Absolutely. And for those that didn't look at the title or anything like that, Kneat is spelled KNEAT.com. So, Eddie, thank you again for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. And I look forward to our next update.
Nice meeting you, Robert. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not provided as financial, legal, or any other advice. The information is not investment advice or an offer to buy or sell any securities or make any investment. The views expressed by guest speakers are their own, and any reference to third-party products, services, or information does not constitute an endorsement thereof by SNN or its affiliates. SNN expressly disclaims all liability for any individual's use of the information presented in this podcast.